The story begins in a dungeon where our protagonist Ryota wakes up abruptly, startling a girl who had been examining him. She's surprised to see a human, wondering why a slime would drop a person since they usually only drop bean sprouts. Ryota is understandably confused. The girl introduces herself as Emily and decides to show him what she means. She fights another slime which hits her, cutting her HP in half. But with a giant hammer, she crushes the slime which disappears and drops bean sprouts. Ryota is baffled by this sight. Emily explains that they're on the first floor of a dungeon called Telulu, and the slimes here always drop bean sprouts. In fact, everything in this world drops from monsters. As they wander through the maze-like dungeon, Ryota starts wondering if he's even still on Earth. Emily kills another slime, and Ryota asks why she doesn't fight other monsters. She tells him that only slimes exist on the first floor, and that she's too weak to move on to the second. Emily then introduces Ryota to a stats board, which displays her stats. She's only level 3, and her stats are pretty average. Ryota notices there's a second page on the board, and Emily explains that it shows her drop stats, which determine how much of certain items she gets. All of her drop stats are at F rank, except for plants which are at E rank, hence her bean sprout farming. When Ryota checks his own stats, he's disappointed. His level is stuck at 1, and all his stats are at F. But then he flips to the second page, revealing that all his drop stats are at S rank. Emily thinks this is terrible since S comes after all the other letters, but Ryota, knowing games, believes S is the highest. Intrigued, he decides to test it out. Emily offers him her hammer, but it's too heavy, so she gives him a bamboo spear instead. When a slime approaches, Ryota struggles, but eventually kills it. To their shock, the slime drops a massive amount of bean sprouts, more than Emily's ever seen. Ryota's suspicions are confirmed. His drop stat is incredibly high. As his stomach growls, Emily offers to cook him some food, using the bean sprouts they've gathered. Ryota loves her cooking and eagerly devours it. She hands him some soup, but she's startled when he starts to tear up. She worries it was the soup, but Ryota assures her it was delicious and he was just remembering his old life. He recalls how he used to work tirelessly, surviving on cold convenience store food until he completely burned out. The next thing he knew, he woke up in the dungeon. Emily hugs him, comforting him by saying all his hard work will pay off. Grateful, Ryota thinks about finding a place to stay. Emily tells him about the nearby town where he can find lodging. He learns that Emily sleeps in the dungeon because she can't afford a place of her own. Before parting ways, she lets him keep the bamboo spear. When Ryota reaches the town, he discovers that the local currency is called pilos. He manages to sell the bean sprouts for 200 pilos, learning that a meal costs 500 and lodging is 2,000 per night. Determined to make more money, he spends the next 3 days killing slimes and trading their drops. Eventually, Ryota surprises Emily by taking her to a house he rented for her to live in. It's a bit run down, and the rent is 20,000 pilos a month, but Ryota assures her he'll cover the cost. Emily is overwhelmed and tries to refuse such a generous gesture, but Ryota insists it's to thank her for the soup. Noticing the blisters on his hands and the bags under his eyes, Emily suggests they live together so she can keep making him meals. Ryota agrees and continues his routine. One day, at the trading post called Swallow's Gratitude, a girl named Urza is astonished by the massive amount of bean sprouts he brings in. Ryota tells her he's thinking of venturing to the second level of Telulu for better drops. Urza warns him that the monsters on the second floor drop carrots and mentions a new dungeon called Nioni, which is currently being investigated by Sakro's most powerful group, the Neptune Group. As Ryota leaves, Urza tries to ask him out, but he politely declines. Back at home, Ryota finds the house spotless thanks to Emily. She hands him a warm towel and a cup of tea. Ryota mentions Nioni, but Emily says it's considered useless because it doesn't have any drops. Still curious, Ryota decides to check it out himself. The dungeon is cavern-like, and while exploring, a skeleton appears and attacks him. The skeleton misses and crushes a column instead. Ryota's spear gets stuck in the skeleton's ribs, but a collapsing column pins the skeleton down. Seizing the opportunity, Ryota repeatedly stabs it until it drops a glowing seed. As Ryota collects it, a voice announces that his max HP has increased. Excited, Ryota and Emily check his stats, and they're stunned to see his HP has risen to C rank. Emily is thrilled, and Ryota sets off to kill more skeletons. They discover that Emily's kills don't drop seeds, and she can't pick up the seeds from Ryota's kills either. Ryota concludes that Nioni is a special stat-boosting dungeon, but only for those with S-rank stats. Back home, over a meal Ryota shares his plan to advance to level 2 of Telulu. Emily is worried and urges him to be careful, so he promises to return by nightfall. In the dungeon, Ryota fights a slime on the second floor. Thanks to his boosted HP, the slime's attacks barely faze him, and he quickly takes it down. It drops a massive carrot. Another slime approaches but is killed by a fireball before it can attack. This one drops a smaller carrot, and 3 men appear to collect it. They mock Ryota, scanning him with a device and laughing when they see he's only level 1 before walking off. Frustrated, Ryota is then surprised by a girl with bunny ears who suddenly appears behind him. She smacks him on the head, saying she hates low-level players, but Ryota takes no damage. Stunned, the girl walks away, confused. Back at home, Emily is amazed by the size of Ryota's carrots. He tells her he made 8,000 pilos from selling them at Swallow's Gratitude and jokes that he's going to be rich. Just then, there's a knock at the door, and to Ryota's surprise, it's the bunny girl from before. She smacks him again, complaining about low levels, but when Ryota doesn't react, she starts acting strangely and then suddenly confesses her love for him. Emily asks Ryota who the strange girl is just as the girl smacks Ryota on the head, but he doesn't even flinch. To demonstrate her strength, the girl grabs a random bystander and does the same, knocking him out instantly. She's confused why it didn't work on Ryota, who assumes it's because of his S-rank HP. When he asks why she came, she pulls out a large carrot from her dress, and Ryota remembers that he dropped a carrot when they left the dungeon. Apparently, the girl had snatched it up as soon as it hit the ground. The girl, now craving for more of his carrots, gets excited when she sees a bunch of them lying around the house. Emily invites her to join them for a meal, and the girl eagerly watches as Emily prepares carrot noodles with carrot sauce and soup. Drooling at the sight, the girl praises Emily's cooking once they eat. After the meal, the girl leaves without much fuss. Determined to get stronger, Ryota cautiously makes his way through the second level of Nionium when a zombie appears. He valiantly attacks, but his bamboo spear breaks, so Ryota resorts to punches and kicks, eventually defeating the zombie. He collects the seed it drops and hears a voice announcing that his strength has increased by 1. Suddenly, he hears another voice, and it's the bunny girl, who had been watching him the entire time. She jumps down, smacks him on the head again, and asks about the drop. Not wanting to reveal his S-rank drop stats, Ryota stays quiet. When she asks for carrots, he tells her he doesn't have any. The girl insists on going back to Telyalu for more carrots, but Ryota tells her to wait at Swallow's Gratitude, and she leaves. Ryota later arrives at the trading post carrying a load of carrots. As a crowd gathers, he hands one to the girl, who happily munches on it, much to the crowd's amazement. Urza approaches Ryota, offering to buy all his carrots at double the price. She explains that the girl is Eve Callas, a notorious adventurer known for her powerful karate chop, nicknamed Excalibur, which can slice through boulders. Eve is also a carrot connoisseur, and any carrot she approves is highly valuable. Urza offers 15,000 pilos per carrot, leaving Ryota astonished. He tries to thank Eve, but she only asks for more carrots. When he says he's out, she tries to smack him again, but he catches her hand. She pouts, and he promises to get more tomorrow, which still upsets her, but she eventually leaves. Back in Telyalu on level 2, Ryota and Emily explore the dungeon, where they overhear 2 adventurers struggling to defeat a slime. Their captain steps in, finishing off the slime and collecting the carrot drop. The captain scolds his tired companions, telling them he's pushing them hard so they can get stronger. Ryota recalls how his boss in his previous life would overwork him under the guise of helping him improve. Emily arrives with a lunchbox, and they decide to take a break. Just as they're about to eat, Eve rushes overexcited to join them for lunch. As they eat together, Ryota notices the group from earlier. The captain glares at them, warning his team not to be as lazy. He lectures that the quality of a monster's drop depends on the effort put into obtaining it. But Eve interrupts, leaping over and telling the group to just enjoy the carrots. She slices a carrot and stuffs it into their mouths. As they munch, she declares that the carrots are delicious without all that hard work. The captain, clearly irritated, almost attacks, but Ryota stops him. The captain begrudgingly leaves with his team. Later, at Swallow's Gratitude, Ryota tells Urza that they're struggling to carry all their items. She suggests buying a magical cart. They visit a shop, where a little girl greets them and calls for her father. An old man emerges and recommends a magical cart equipped with a monster detection system. Though they're interested, they're shocked to learn it costs 10 million pilos. The other carts are also pricey, so they leave without buying anything, feeling dejected. Suddenly, they hear shouting. A giant stray gorilla appears, rampaging through the town. Emily explains that strays are monsters that appear when drops are left in areas with few people, and they don't drop anything valuable. so adventurers usually avoid fighting them. Ryota hears a scream and sees Urza on the ground as the gorilla throws a punch at her. Without hesitation, Ryota jumps in, stopping the gorilla's fist. At that moment, Eve arrives with a band of adventurers to assist. Ryota assures Urza that he'll handle the stray. The gorilla tries to hurl a boulder at Ryota, but Emily smashes it with her hammer. The adventurers attack the gorilla's limbs while Ryota springs forward, headbutting the monster and delivering the final blow. The townspeople cheer for Ryota, appreciating his help for the first time. As Ryota hears the familiar chime of a monster drop, they go to investigate. Ryota and Emily discover that the monster they defeated dropped a pistol, a weapon Ryota never expected to find in their world. Surprised, Ryota checks his status and sees that his strength has leveled up to C rank because of the seed drops. Armed with the pistol, Ryota re-enters Nionium and tests it out on an approaching zombie. The first shot blows off the zombie's shoulder, and the second kills it. Satisfied that the gun works, Ryota faces a group of zombies, shooting them down with ease. However, he begins to worry about running out of bullets and decides to use them sparingly. At Telulu, a slime leaps toward Emily, but Ryota shoots at midair, killing it instantly. Emily is happy to see him, and they share lunch together. She admires his new weapon, and Ryota mentions his plan to explore the next level of the dungeon. They notice that Eve didn't show up for lunch, and assume she must be busy. Entering the third level, Emily points out that the monsters here are called cocker slimes, and they drop pumpkins. As they search, Ryota spots some cocker slimes crawling on the walls, noticing that they resemble cockroaches, which disgusts him. Suddenly, Emily smashes the ground with her hammer, sporting a creepy smile as she declares her desire to kill all the cocker slimes. She brutally destroys one and they collect a pumpkin from its drop. Ryota, unnerved by Emily's sudden bloodlust, suggests they go back for more carrots, hoping to avoid seeing her scary side again. But as they continue, another swarm of cocker slimes appears, and Emily loses control, becoming more crazed at the sight of them. Ryota takes charge, shooting the monsters while begging Emily to stay calm. He defeats the cocker slimes, but they're left wondering how to carry the huge pumpkins from Ryota's drops. Emily starts acting strangely again, eager to kill more cocker slimes, when suddenly a powerful burst knocks Ryota and the pumpkins flying. Eve emerges, ready to collect her daily carrot supply. Emily offers up a backpack full of carrots, and Ryota feels relieved as Eve happily accepts them. They trade in their pumpkins at Swallow's gratitude and return to retrieve the rest of their haul, only to find the remaining pumpkins half-eaten. Ryota suspects a small animal got to them, but Emily believes the cocker slimes are responsible. Smashing one of the ruined pumpkins, a swarm of cocker slimes emerges, and Emily begins to go berserk once again. Terrified of Emily's potential frenzy, Ryota quickly pulls out his gun and shoots at the slimes until he runs out of bullets. Desperate, he smashes the remaining slimes with his hands while begging Emily to be patient. Eventually, Ryota kills all the cocker slimes, and Emily apologizes for losing control. Just then, Ryota hears multiple chimes and realizes that the monsters drop more bullets. At Swallow's gratitude, Urza explains that stray monsters appear if a drop is left unattended outside the dungeon. Ryota considers whether it's possible to force strays to spawn and kill them for more bullets. Lost in thought, he almost misses Urza's attempt to ask him out, but he only thanks her and rushes away to experiment with his new idea. Ryota leads a carrot outside the dungeon, waiting for a monster to spawn. Eve appears and eats the carrot instead. Undeterred, Ryota tries again, and this time a slime appears. He kills it instantly, and it drops more bullets, proving that his experiment works. Pleased with the results, Ryota wonders what might happen if he tries the same with the seeds from Nionium. However, no matter what he does, the seeds vanish in his hands, leaving him disappointed. On his way back, Ryota is caught off guard by a skeleton that suddenly appears. He wrestles with it, managing to kick it outside the dungeon, but instead of turning into a stray, the skeleton simply vanishes. Back at Swallow's gratitude, Urza explains that monsters disappear if they leave the dungeon and cannot cross between different levels. As Urza blushes and tries to compliment him, Ryota cuts her off, eager to return to Nionium to test another idea. Standing at the entrance, Ryota launches a skeleton outside and quickly shoots it before it disappears. A mysterious voice announces that he has acquired a freezing bullet. Ryota tests it on a tree, freezing it solid, and later demonstrates the freezing bullet to Emily by freezing a slime, which she then smashes with her hammer. Emily asks about the bullet, and Ryota explains that it's rare and difficult to obtain, so he can't use it often. While traveling along a mountain trail, Ryota and Emily come across two people arguing. A man asks Ryota to retrieve some cargo that had fallen off a cliff, but the woman warns against it, saying that stray monsters could spawn if the cargo is left unattended. As she prepares to burn the cargo with a fireball, the man stops her, claiming that the perfume inside is too valuable to destroy. Their argument escalates, and the man tries to hit the woman but misses, leaving a dent in the wall. Ryota and Emily are shocked, but the woman calmly explains that the man has been possessed by a monster called a Femini, which uses human bodies as nurseries to propagate. Ryota quickly shoots the Femini, freeing the man though he falls unconscious. The woman urges them to run, knowing more Femini will appear because of the cargo. She prepares to sacrifice herself to buy them time to escape, saying it's her responsibility as the escort. Ryota recalls a time when a coworker made a mistake and his boss laughed at his misfortune. Although Ryota wanted to help, his coworker felt it was his responsibility, so Ryota couldn't do anything. Determined to help the woman, Ryota uses his freezing bullets to immobilize the Femini, while Emily shatters them with her hammer. Grateful, the woman thanks them for saving her. Later that night, they check Emily's stats, which have improved significantly after defeating the Femini. She thanks Ryota, saying more good things will happen if they stick together, though Ryota believes he's the one benefiting the most. Ryota and Emily return to the dungeon and encounter a rare monster. Ryota swiftly takes it out, and it drops a necklace. He asks Emily to wear it, explaining that it doubles item drops, allowing her to earn more money while wearing it. Afterward, Emily takes down a group of bats, and they drop significantly more items than usual, thanks to the necklace's power. Back at their house, Ryota starts thinking about moving to a nicer place, since they're earning more now. He knows it will take time to save more money, but Emily reassures him not to overwork himself. At Swallow's gratitude, Ryota tries to sell some bamboo shoots, but Urza finds them difficult to appraise. Just then, a girl approaches and asks if she can have one of the bamboo shoots. Ryota agrees, and the girl slices it into pieces and tastes it. She's impressed, saying it tastes good even raw, and she asks to buy all of his bamboo shoots. Ryota agrees, but the girl admits she can't put a set price on the item, offering him some money as a token of gratitude. To Ryota's surprise, she pays him 20,000 pilos, a high price for bamboo shoots, though he seems disappointed. Urza reveals that the girl is an epicure named Eric, and any food she likes will quickly become highly valuable. Urza suggests that Ryota sign an exclusive contract with them, as his bamboo shoots are likely to become a hot topic in Sacro. She offers to pay a bonus in addition to the price of the shoots, and Ryota happily agrees to partner with her. Ryota then returns to Nionium, where he notices a skeleton approaching a princess named Margaret. Before he can help, her companions restrain the monster, and Margaret decapitates it. Her companion explains to Ryota that Margaret is using an air box which collects air from the monsters in Nionium. He adds that since the air is made by Princess Margaret, it has become their top product. He also explains that a magic card helps them carry more air boxes, making their trips more efficient. Back at their house, Ryota tells Emily he wants to buy a magic card, though he knows it will be expensive. He can't decide whether to buy a new house or the magic card first. Emily suggests they buy the magic card, reasoning that it will help them earn more money for a house. Ryota agrees, thinking she makes a good point. The next day, they head to the shop to purchase the magic card, but encounter a young girl crying. She explains that her father hasn't returned from a trip to collect flowers, so Ryota and Emily decide to check the dungeon arsenic, where the flowers grow. Upon entering, they are blocked by monsters. Ryota shoots one, but his bullet bounces off, so Emily charges in with her hammer and destroys the monsters with ease. Deeper in the dungeon, they find the shopkeeper lying on the ground. Ryota tries to wake him, but he doesn't respond, so Emily slams her hammer on the ground, jolting him awake. The shopkeeper explains that he was gathering parts for his new magic card and has most of the materials but still needs light rocks. He points to a floating rock, explaining that light rocks are lighter than air, making them difficult to grab. Ryota offers to help, and with Emily's assistance, they manage to get the light rock. It drops a blue rose, exactly what the shopkeeper needs. As they head outside, the shopkeeper leaves the rose on the ground to turn into a stray, knowing it will be nearly impossible to catch once it starts floating upward. The rose transforms into a light rock and immediately begins ascending. The shopkeeper tries to grab it but fails. Ryota quickly fires a freezing bullet, causing it to fall to the ground, and the shopkeeper retrieves it. Back at the shop, the shopkeeper completes his magic card and offers it to Ryota as a gift. Ryota hesitates, feeling that it's too valuable, but the shopkeeper reminds him that he saved the town from a gorilla and deserves a reward. Ryota accepts the cart and starts using it to store bamboo shoots. The cart quickly fills up, so Ryota brings it to Urza, only to find her arguing with a man. The man demands more money for his goods, claiming they are worth over 10,000 pilos. Urza insists she can't pay more than 8,400, but the man gets aggressive and tries to attack her. Ryota steps in, freezing the man's arm and warning him to stop. He demonstrates how the cart automatically calculates the correct price for the goods, and it confirms the price as 8,400 pilos. Enraged, the man accuses Ryota of colluding with Urza and prepares to strike, but Ryota easily stops him with a slap. Grateful, Urza thanks Ryota and admits that as an item trader, she wants people to feel comfortable selling their goods to her. However, she starts feeling overwhelmed by the responsibility. Ryota reassures her that it's okay to seek help, reminding her that she helped him by buying his items and he wants to protect her in return. Urza suddenly kisses him, leaving Ryota blushing. She explains that it was a personal kiss, a token for him to remember. Later, Ryota and Emily return to Telyalu, where they hunt bats to gather more bamboo shoots. Ryota is thrilled because, with a magic cart, they can now earn 200,000 pilos in a single trip, which is 10 times more than before. With their newfound wealth, they finally have enough money to buy a new house. Back home, they start packing their things but feel a bit sad, reflecting on the many memories they've made there. They decide to keep their lease on the old house, so they can return to it whenever they want. The next day, we see Ryota and Emily settling into their new home.